Hey, it's Mark Bates. So, we're going to talk about the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet continues gaining popularity for all its simplicity and potential health benefits. Yet, many practitioners hit frustrating plateaus after elimination or more willpower. It lies in understanding the nuanced biochemistry of fat metabolism and hormonal balance. Most carnivores' advice focuses on what to eliminate. Far fewer discussions center on optimizing what remains. This oversight explains why results vary so dramatically between individuals following seemingly identical protocols. Okay, so this is really about a revolution. Not all animal fats deliver equal metabolic benefits. The type of fat consumed dramatically influences body composition, energy levels, and overall results. The most overlooked factor? Stearic acid content. Grass-fed beef suet, that's the fat, contains approximately 37% stearic acid, making it one of the most potent natural sources of this powerful saturated fat. This matters because stearic acid appears to fundamentally alter how your body processes and stores fat. A 2014 study published in PLOS 1 demonstrated that mice consuming stearic acid experienced a 25% reduction in total body fat compared to control groups. That was a mouse study, but there seems to be significant associations with the human groups as well. Even more remarkably, their visceral fat decreased by a stunning 67%. Significant because visceral fat drives inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. Now, visceral fat's the fat that's below the skin, but not just under the skin, but it's actually the fat that's around your organs. That's really bad fat to have. Okay? This research suggests stearic acid may be a critical factor in fat loss efficiency. The mechanism appears to involve mitochondrial fusion, the process where damaged mitochondria combine to create healthier, more functional energy factories within cells. This improvement in cellular energy production creates a metabolic environment primed for fat burning. The power of stearic acid. Remember, incorporating more stearic acid rich foods represents perhaps the most powerful yet underutilized strategy for enhancing carnivore diet results. The highest concentrations appear in suet, that's beef suet. The dense fat surrounding beef kidney contains exceptional levels of stearic acid, plus the rest of the fat within beef, but the ones around the kidneys are the highest. This traditional fat source can be rendered into tallow or consumed directly with minimal processing. Right? Grass-fed beef contains higher stearic acid concentrations than grain-finished alternatives. The difference becomes particularly significant in fattier cuts like ribeye and chuck roast. Lamb offers an excellent stearic acid profile while providing greater amino acid diversity than beef. Its highly natural fat content makes it ideal for those seeking metabolic advantages. I also like getting lamb tallow, which you can find now. Bison and elk. These game meats deliver impressive stearic acid levels alongside unique nutrient profiles not found in conventional meats. The metabolic impact of prioritizing these foods can be substantial. Beyond direct fat burning effects, stearic acid appears to improve mitochondrial function, potentially enhancing greater production and reducing inflammation. Okay, let's talk about the polyunsaturated problem. Many carnivore dieters unknowingly sabotage their results by consuming excessive polyunsaturated fats. Our favorites, right? Bacon, chicken wings, and other poultry products contain significantly higher amounts of these fats compared to ruminant meats. Okay? While these foods technically qualify as carnivore compliant, they work against optimal metabolic function for most people seeking improved body composition. The body processes polyunsaturated fats differently than saturated fats. Rather than being readily available for energy, they often recycled through the lymphatic system and deposited into fat cells. This creates a metabolic environment less conducive to burning stored body fat. This doesn't mean eliminating these foods entirely. However, making ruminant meats like beef, lamb, and bison the foundation of your carnivore approach typically accelerate your results. So remember that. Okay. The other thing you have to understand is the optimal fat to protein ratio. Another critical factor in carnivore success involves finding the right balance between fat and protein consumption. This ratio significantly influences hormonal balance, energy levels, and body composition. For most beginners, nutrition experts, carnivore nutrition experts, recommend starting with approximately 70% fat to 30% protein. This is based upon caloric measures. Now, we don't believe in the calorie in, calorie out function, but calories does give us at least some measurement guide on the food, right? For most beginner, right? This provides sufficient protein for muscle maintenance while supplying enough fat for hormone production safety. In satiety, we'll talk about the amount of protein you need later, but protein is actually really hard to eat too much of, and pretty hard to eat, and you can eat too little, but if you're eating that 70-30, you're getting plenty of protein. Those with specific healing needs or metabolic conditions might benefit from temporarily higher fat percentages. Some practitioners report optimal results with ratios as high as 80% fat and 20% protein, especially during the initial adaptation phases. Now, quick note, that's for men. 75 or 70-30 is for men. For women, because you need, especially women who have not hit menopause yet, you need a lot more fat than men do for hormonal production. So you probably want to start at 80-20. Okay? Just a side note. Contrary to popular belief, protein intake rarely needs restriction. And then that's true. It's really hard to get too much protein. Okay? The concern about protein converting to glucose through gluconeogenesis is largely overblown for most healthy individuals. If you're metabolically unhealthy and you're trying to heal, that is a concern though. In fact, many carnivore practitioners find the results accelerate when consuming between 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight. Okay? This higher protein intake supports muscle maintenance, metabolic rate, overall satiety. Now, big note, if you're over 60, especially if you're over 65, the human body, as it gets older, starts to absorb less and less of the protein you eat. You might need to increase your protein intake just for that purpose, okay? So keep that in mind. There are lots of potential issues here to deal with. All right, beyond bacon and butter. Boy, the biggest thing I remember going into carnivore is everyone saying, eat bacon and butter. Beef, butter, and bacon. That's what people would say. And the problem with that is that while these foods can certainly fit within a carnivore framework, they shouldn't be the foundation of your approach, right? Bacon contains relatively high levels of polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-6 fats, right? And processing agents that may trigger inflammatory responses, the smoking of the bacon and other things that they add to it for flavoring. Gotta be really careful about those things, right? Butter, while rich in beneficial compounds like butyrate, lack the complete nutrition profile found in intact animal foods. Now, I will say though that adding butter to your beef is great, and especially one of the best things you can add to your diet is going to be grass-fed butter. Okay, the most successful carnivore practitioners typically center their intake around whole ruminant meats. Ruminants are beef and lamb primarily, right? With their natural fat intact. This provides not only optimal fatty acid profiles, but also the complete spectrum of micronutrients found in properly raised animals. Grass-fed beef is best. Organ meats further enhance this approach by supplying concentrated micronutrients, often missing from muscle meat alone. But if you don't like liver and you don't like heart and all the other stuff, you don't have to eat it. You'll get that from the muscle meat, okay? But every once in a while, if you like liver, add a little bit of liver. It really is good, okay? Let's talk about meal frequency. Another thing that people overlook a lot, especially when they're trying to optimize their carnivore diet, involves meal timing. Many practitioners automatically adopt intermittent fasting, that's time delayed fasting, right? Or 1 meal a day OMAD approaches alongside their carnivore profile and protocol. While these strategies work for some individuals, they can impede progress for others, particularly women, right? And those with existing hormonal imbalances. Women probably should avoid 1 meal a day. You need smaller meals spread out over the day. Still keeping carnivore, okay? The carnivore diet may lead to initial weight fluctuations due to fluid shifts and hormonal adjustments. Don't worry about those first month on carnivore as your weight's moving up and down. Adding excessive fasting during this adaptation period can trigger stress responses that work against metabolic healing. Right? Don't change too much. If you're used to eating 3 times a day, switch to 2 times a day. And if you're a woman, continue 3 times a day. Right? Small changes. Long term. This is not a short term thing. This is a long term journey. Okay? For most beginners, 2 or 3 meals daily without strict fasting windows proves most effective. This approach provides adequate nutrition while allowing nutritional hunger signals to emerge without additional stressors. In fact, for most beginners, once you've adapted to eating carnivore, and I would suggest you take 2 to 4 weeks to adapt to eating carnivore, because your body's used to getting all those non-carnivore foods. You got to give your gut microbiome a chance to move towards carnivore. We have a whole discussion on doing that. You can look up, right? But what you want to do is you want to get your gut used to eating basically nothing but animal product, and then once you're there, you're good. Once fully adapted, some practitioners find intermittent fasting naturally occurs as hunger signals normalize. You just don't get hungry eating carnivore, and that's a good thing. Now, one of the things though is that a lot of people don't eat enough when they go carnivore because they're just not hungry. So you got to keep that in mind. So this organic approach to meal timing typically yields better results than forced fasting protocols. If you're hungry, eat. Okay, that's the big thing here. Don't force yourself to be miserable saying I have to fast for 16 hours or whatever, or I'm on a 3-day fast. If you're hungry, eat, especially in the early parts of it. You want to provide nutrition to your body. Okay? Hormonal balance is important. Perhaps the most fundamental principle for optimizing carnivore results involves supporting hormonal balance. Body composition, energy levels, and overall well-being depend primarily on hormonal signals rather than caloric mathematics. Right? Don't worry about how much you're eating. Your body is not a calorie counting machine. It's a hormone machine, right? So insulin regulation. By eliminating carbohydrates, right? That's the first number one thing you gotta do is eliminate carbohydrates. The diet minimizes insulin fluctuations that drive fat storage and inflammatory processes. If nothing else, you may not be 100% carnivore, but you gotta cut the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates tell your body to release insulin. Insulin is the thing that makes you store fat and keeps you from hitting your goals in terms of weight loss and health. Okay, leptin sensitivity. Proper fat intake helps restore leptin signaling. Right? Most people are insensitive to leptin, and and allowing your body to accurately gauge energy needs and fat storage requirements by getting signals from leptin, which is released by your gut as you're eating, is very important. Okay, Thyroid support. We got a we got a section on thyroid, right? A well-formulated carnivore diet with adequate energy in it supports your thyroid function beautifully. Okay, but if your thyroid's not up to par, you may want to support it some more. Even if you're getting within range blood tests and your doctor says, oh, your thyroid looks okay. Remember, the tests that come out of a lab are the average for everybody. That means all the sick people plus all the healthy people combined, and they say you're in range. That means you're in range of people that include a lot of sick people. Being in range from a laboratory test does not mean optimal. Sometimes optimal requires work. And supporting your thyroid by eating specific types of foods, eating a lot of beef, maybe eating a little extra liver if you like liver, that will help. Okay, and here's a big one, especially if you haven't hit menopause or you're like under 60. Sex hormone production. Cholesterol and saturated fats provide the raw materials needed for testosterone, estrogen, progesterone production. And these are the big three. And if you're a man, you want that testosterone that helps you keep and maintain muscle mass. If you're a woman, you want that estrogen until you hit menopause, right? Then estrogen is still important, but you're not producing eggs and stuff. So you're not worrying by that point about fertility issues. But once again, this can help with that. These hormonal systems function optimally when the body naturally gravitates towards its ideal composition without the needs for excessive restriction or willpower. Okay, the sustainability factor. I always get into this one. The final element in optimizing your carnivore results involves sustainability. The most perfectly designed protocol delivers zero benefits if adherence to it proves impossible. Rigid approaches focusing exclusively on muscle meat often lead to boredom. I get that all the time. I can't just eat one thing a day. A lot of people can, but not everyone can. Cravings and eventual abandonment. More flexible frameworks allowing for personal preferences and occasional variety tend to produce better long-term outcomes, and that's good. For many, this means including foods like eggs, certain dairy products, and even the occasional plant food. You're not, you're not going to lose your carnivore badge if you eat occasional plant food. Okay? There are purists out there who will tell you, no, you can't eat anything. No, I don't believe that at all. Okay? You can eat occasional plant foods, right? What we're talking about here, and in theory, goes back to that whole Paleolithic whole foods type of diet, or the paleo diet, if you remember that from several years ago. Think about when we historically have shown to be the healthiest as a species was before the agricultural revolution, when we were hunter-gatherers for the most part. That meant you ate lots of meat. You ate it as a man, right? You ate after you did the hunt, so you may have gone through a period of fasting before you captured the game and you ate it. For women, this is why women usually need to eat more. They're maybe back at the homestead, right, taking care of children, so that they have the food stores there, so they're eating more frequently. So human women's bodies are designed for that a little bit more than men. They're not designed for the fasting as much, but right, and they'll be growing some stuff, and they'd be picking berries and stuff. So be flexible, right? You don't have to be dogmatic about what you're doing, right? So don't worry about perfection. Saying I'm carnivore and all I'm going to eat is carnivore. That's your goal. If you eat a salad every once a year, it's not gonna ruin you. Trust me, it's not. Okay, practical things. Focus on ruminant fats. Beef, lamb, bison is really great, by the way, if you can find it. Okay, those should be your primary protein sources. Prioritizing fattier cuts whenever possible. Okay, incorporate suet. That's beef fat. Add the stearic acid to your ground meat dishes or render it into tallow for cooking. Right. My favorite cooking oil is beef suet. Okay. Balance your macros. Once again, aim for approximately 70% fat, 30% protein, right? Based upon calculating how much the caloric intake is. We're not counting calories, but we're just using that to measure composition. But remember, if you're a woman, you probably want to stick towards 80-20, especially when you're starting out, because you need more fat generally, right? Prioritize food quality as much as possible. Try to get into grass-fed meats as much as you can. If nothing else, get grass-fed butter. It is more expensive than regular butter, but it's 100% better for you, in my opinion. Okay. Listen to your hunger signals. The idea here is not to time your meals precisely and not to measure them all. It's eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, you don't have to eat. Okay. It's really that simple. Okay. Consider eating some organ meats if you like them. You don't have to, right? If you absolutely dislike liver, don't add it, okay? And don't just track on the scale. If anything, get away from the scale initially because we focus too much on the weight when really you're looking at your body composition. Think about how much energy you feel you have, right? Keep a logbook. What you're eating and how your energy is. Do you feel highly energized or less? Is your sleep quality better? Is your mood better? Right? Look at other health markers. Once again, I do like getting a glucose and a ketone meter. If you want to use that, that's a great way of tracking that. Find things that work for you that you like to do. Okay? And finally, this is a revolution that is coming up, right? Sometimes we fall prey, especially if you're watching carnivore videos, people who just like dogmatically say, you must eat this, you must eat only beef, you must eat only carnivore products. And then there are people who are making carnivore recipes out there. And they push the boundaries. And you're wondering, what is carnivore, what is not? Right? This is one of those things where what works best for you, and stick to the basics though. Beef and lamb, okay. A little bit of fish. I like cold water fish, sardines, salmon, things like that. Those are the primary things. Try to avoid carbohydrates of any kind. Minimize your vegetable intake, if any. Right? Stuff like that. Optimizing your approach is not complex. What works for you is what's important. But if what works for you is adding a little sauce to your steaks, and one of the things I like is a nice hollandaise sauce, which is butter and egg yolks primarily, right? Adding that to add additional fat to the meat and some flavor, do that, okay? But remember, what you're doing is you're trying to optimize the food you're putting into your body. That's the fuel for your body. You're trying, and it's also where you're getting your nutrition from. All right. If you have any questions, leave me a note. Thank you.